They were the bluest eyes the world had ever seen. When Paul Newman looked at the camera, he didn't just act, he pierced right through you. He was the definition of cool, the hustler, the rebel, the racing driver. But Paul Newman hated being called a sex symbol. He famously burned his tuxedo on his 75th birthday because he was tired of the glamour. He was a man who preferred a beer and a burger to a champagne gala. He was a man who loved one woman for 50 years in a town where marriage lasts 50 days. On September 26, 2008, the blue eyes closed forever. He died as he lived, privately, quietly, and on his own terms. Today, we tell the full emotional story of the man who gave everything away. Paul Leonard Newman was born in 1925 in Ohio. He wasn't trying to be a star, he was running away from his family's sporting goods store. He served in the Navy in World War II, seeing the world from the turret of a torpedo bomber. When he arrived in Hollywood, he was just another handsome face, but Paul had a fire inside. He studied at the Actors Studio alongside Marlon Brando and James Dean. He wanted to be taken seriously, and he was. With movies like Cat on a Hot Tin Roof and Cool Hand Luke, he became the anti-hero of America, the guy who wouldn't stay down. But while the world was falling in love with him, Paul was falling in love with someone else. Her name was Joanne Woodward. She was an Oscar-winning actress, brilliant and beautiful. They married in 1958, and for the next half-century, they were inseparable. In an industry full of temptation, Paul remained faithful. When a reporter asked him why he never cheated, he delivered one of the most famous lines in history. "Why go out for a hamburger when I have steak at home?" It wasn't just a clever line, it was the truth. Joanne was his anchor. She was the only person who could tell him when he was being an idiot. Their love story is the heartbeat of his life, and it is what makes his final days so incredibly sad. But Paul's life wasn't perfect. In 1978, his heart was shattered. His only son, Scott Newman, struggled with the weight of his father's fame. Scott fell into drug and alcohol addiction. Paul tried to help, but he couldn't save him. In November 1978, Scott died of an accidental overdose. He was only 28. Paul never fully recovered. The guilt ate him alive. He felt he had failed as a father. But instead of letting the grief destroy him, he turned it into action. He founded the Scott Newman Center to fight drug abuse. It was the beginning of Paul's second act, The Philanthropist. One day, as a joke, Paul bottled his homemade salad dressing for friends. They loved it. So he decided to sell it. Newman's Own was born. But Paul had a rule: I want 100% of the profits to go to charity. His advisors told him he was crazy. They said it was impossible, but Paul didn't care. To date, Newman's Own has donated over $600 million to charity. He built the hole-in-the-wall gang camps for seriously ill children so they could raise a little hell without worrying about doctors. He wasn't just an actor anymore. He was a saint in a race car driver's suit. In 2008, rumors started to swirl. Paul looked frail. The blue eyes were tired. He had been a heavy smoker for most of his life, and the diagnosis was lung cancer. He fought it privately with the same stubbornness he showed in Cool Hand Luke. But in August 2008, doctors told him there was nothing more they could do. Paul made a final decision. He didn't want to die in a hospital. He wanted to go home. He returned to his farmhouse in Westport, Connecticut. A few days before the end, he asked to be taken to the racetrack one last time. He couldn't drive, but he sat in his Corvette listening to the engine roar. It was his way of saying goodbye to the life he loved. On September 26, 2008, Paul Newman passed away in his own bed, holding Joanne's hand. He was 83 years old. There was no public funeral, no Hollywood circus. Paul was cremated, and in a private ceremony, his family scattered his ashes near his home in Westport, Connecticut, the sanctuary where he had found peace. He left us the movies. He left us the salad dressing, but mostly he left us an example of what a good man looks like. Paul Newman once said, "We are such spendthrifts with our lives. The trick of living is to slip on and off the planet with the least fuss." He slipped away quietly, but his echo will last forever. Do you prefer Cool Hand Luke or the Hustler? Let us know in the comments, and please subscribe. Let's keep the legend alive. Rest in peace, legend.